What's up, everybody? Welcome to Building Our Power. This is Gabby
and KT,
and we're back with another episode. If you'd like to hit us up, you can do so on all social media platforms at Building Our PWR. If you'd like to donate to the work we're doing in the city, the distribution of propaganda, the stocking of the fridge with food, and now we're going to start doing clothes. You can do so. Links in the description. If you'd like to join us, I recently met with a comrade today. We had a great discussion. We're going to get linked up and get some stuff going. If you'd like to be a part of that, you can do so. Link is in the description as well. Okay, I did want to emphasize the clothing thing for the pantry. This is something that we have started doing just out of the blue. I don't even know if they had promoted that pantry is for clothes, but we've been putting clothes in there and people have been very receptive. Every time we're there, like, the clothes are gone super duper fast, and so we are going to start pushing for and trying to do more when it comes to things like clothing and detergent, like for washing clothes and stuff like that, household stuff like toiletries and stuff too, because we see that, okay, people are putting food and stuff in there, even though it's still not where it needs to be, but that is another need that people have, because we're starting to see that a lot of the people that are coming to the pantry for that are homeless people, and it's about to start getting cold, so we want to be proactive in providing people with stuff before it gets too cold and life threatening. All right, guys. If you'd like to donate, you can just hit us up. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about America and individualism, and the poison that is all this self-help therapy, capitalist shit about nobody owes you nothing, and center yourself, and this is about you, and how it is antithetical to a leftist frame of mind. Okay. So KT, would you like to get started?
Yeah, so I was actually going to mention, you had actually saw a video, right? And this is kind of what had made it so that we started talking about this and thinking about this, is Gabby had saw a video of this guy who was a profound capitalist, and he was talking about how you need to be your own self, you need to be by yourself and build wealth. You don't need to be worried about nobody else, just you, and your wealth and your money, and get you a house and get you a car and get you this and get you that and whatever else. And so we were just like, how does that as a whole, like if we're looking at community as a whole, how does that physically improve or materially improve other people's lives?
It doesn't. And this rhetoric has always been out forever, but I feel like just Instagram, it's so about Instagram and Facebook just help just make these insufferable people even more famous, and people really think that the more individualistic I am, the less I care about people, the more evolved I am, the more elevated I am, the more successful I am, the better I am as a human being, because I am not trapped into these trivial things such as friendships and relationships and stuff like that. I don't have to communicate with nobody. I'm just communicating on this bag, and that's the biggest piece of capitalist bullshit in the world, because all these people, even the quote-unquote entrepreneurs, baby, you're not making that much. You really ain't no capitalist. You don't have no capital. You're over here selling business courses and just selling the ebook. A lot of these people who take on this mindset, like these working class, even middle class people, it's like they literally, the system or whatever, literally has convinced you that you actually sacrificing your body and never taking breaks is actually helping you elevate, when you literally, by doing all this overtime and all this stuff, you helped your boss get another Lamborghini to add to his 10-car collection. You helped pay for the gas in his private jet as he goes over there to Cancun for 2 weeks. Like, you really think that you are doing something. All you're doing is burning bridges. And like I said in the video on Instagram, like, you will be old and alone. And and this type of rhetoric is setting people up for failure, for despair, and for pain. Because one thing we know is there's always going to be tragedy, there's always going to be pain, there's always going to be evil. And the only thing that we have is ourselves and our community. That house is not going to console you when you are in grief. That car is not going to be there for you and visit you at the hospital when you are sick. Like, we need people. But, that propaganda out there, it's tough. People, they drinking the Kool-Aid.
But also, capitalism doesn't want you to have community either. So I feel like it's kind of like on brand for these people to be like, okay, I don't need anybody, I don't need this, I don't need that, I only need material possessions, because capitalism says you must walk all over everybody else in the world in order to be at the top. So with that being said, it's almost like that's on brand for people like that, because that's who they are and that's who they strive to be, these evil people who don't care about community and who only care about themselves. Also, I think it's really interesting that there's people who are like, I don't need community, I don't need this. How in the world are you going to sell this product anyway? Like, if you know anything about marketing, the thing about marketing is manipulating someone into thinking that your product is the best product because you and your community of that product are the best. So
Yeah.
how are you, like, even if we think of it in capitalist mind, that still doesn't make sense at the end of the day.
That's the thing. I got this book that was assigned reading for my job. I know, called Leaders Eat Last, and it's the most ridiculous book I've ever read in my life, because it literally has a chapter in there that says your employees are people too. It's literally a book on teaching these CEOs not to appear as the psychopaths that they are, and how to have empathy and know that these are not robots and these are actually human beings with kids and shit. So I said all that to say, what they know is that even at the job you need community.
That's the reason why they say everybody's a family.
Even at the job, you need to have a system where everybody ain't all to themselves. They gotta have camaraderie. They need to be friends with each other, but not to the point where they're trying to organize now. But it is not economically beneficial for all of them to be separated and not be engaging with each other. You need those team building things. You need the pizza parties. You need the holiday dinners, because that gives you good results at your company.
And people who are in community with each other at the job are more likely to stay at the job longer. So that's something else. So it's like, okay, well, let me go ahead and come in today because I don't want my teammate, my friend who is in community with me, to have to take over my load as well. So it's like, yeah, you have to have community even within capitalism, but they love to pretend like you don't.
Well, that's the thing though, because it's like that's an interesting thing though, because they'll be like, I don't need no friends, I don't need no this, I don't need no that, but I sure need my boss, and I sure need that coworker, and I sure need my manager. It's like it's literally placating one, like we just said, from one family to a corporate family. Correct. One whatever to another. And like you were talking about with that whole selling stuff and like the MLMs and all these communities, like, yes, it's literally the same thing. Yes. They have to have a community. Them Herbalife people, they literally have them little Facebook groups, and they get together and they convene, because that's the way that you build strength. That's the way that you make sure that even though y'all scamming, y'all still got a strong fortress, and you can still keep each other motivated and keep on scamming.
Even if we want to take this a totally different level, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this, but think about even cults. Cults, what do they need? They need community behind them in order to even become a cult, right? Yeah. So for those singular capitalists to come out and just be like, okay, well, actually, I don't need nobody, I don't need anything, I only need my money, I only need my cars, I only need my house, I just need to focus on me. you got some deep rooted issues that need some therapy, is what it sounds like to
Right,
me.
but even that's the thing. That's bullshit anyway. Because even the rich people have community. They got them country clubs. They got the golf things. They do the
Neighborhood
stuff.
app.
They got the politics. The politics is they little fraternities and
Yeah.
whatever. Everybody has community, and they're trying to convince you that you don't need none, so that you ain't got no leg to stand on, and you are dependent on them.
Yep.
That's literally the only reason somebody will be teaching that bullshit. That's literally the only reason. You do not want to live your life this way. This is not the way that you have not a successful life, or a meaningful life. Like I brought up Shaq. Shaq is over here. He's rich. He's successful. He's done everything that an athlete would need to do to say that they have achieved everything in life. And he's divorced from his wife, and he said he's lonely. He's got that big house. It's just him up in it. And he realizes all the bridges he burnt by being selfish and by being me. And now capitalism would say he's successful.
Yeah, they would.
He's literally alone and dreading the life that he lived because of those choices. So don't let these people get you twisted. Don't live your life like this, because you cannot go back.
Yeah.
You cannot go back and repair some of these bridges in your life. I know this is turned to a therapy.
I was gonna say this came into therapy rant episode. But something that's interesting as well to me is that capitalism, they're very, very individualistic. But what I said earlier, it just dawned on me. It's like, yes, capitalists are so individualistic, but there's still something there that they have to draw from community in order for it to make sense. There's no way. It's like they're manipulating you into thinking that community doesn't exist, when in actuality it does.
Yes.
And it needs to happen in order for capitalism even to exist.
Nepotism.
Yeah, that's also a part of community.
That's an idea of community. Like, they're literally just pushing this stuff for us. They have to push it for us. And that's what, even, when they say the family, they're not talking about your extended family. They're talking about your husband and wife and your kids. So in that way, it's still like, okay, that's a little bit of a community, but it's not real. It's still individualistic in the way that they view family. And like I said, it's purposeful. The nuclear family is there for a reason. We was talking what did we watch, that 80s thing, the thing about the 80s. And it was talking about how, all the women in the 80s were starting to go into the workforce leaving the husband, not leaving the husbands, or starting to get divorced and stuff like that.
Right.
And how that brought on all of this pro-life stuff, and all these big humongous pro-life groups trying to end abortions, because women were getting empowered, and they had money, so they didn't necessarily need to be tied down to a nuclear family.
Correct.
And so they had to have something to keep the woman tied down and be like, you need marriage. And that was some of the things that they did. The anti-feminist propaganda they put out, the anti-abortion stuff they put out, all these other conservative values they push down, because that individualism, that join a family, that no, you don't need your friends, no, you don't need your extended family, you need to get a man.
Right.
You need to get a man and be isolated at that house
with them children,
and that be your life.
Yeah.
So that you are forever dependent on that man's check, and that man is forever dependent on that boss's money.
Yep.
And all of y'all are controlled by that system for the rest of your entire life.
I mean, that's a way to be controlled anyway. Like, even if we look at that from, like, what you're talking about, they're literally being controlled by the boss. Because if at any moment, even nowadays, if at any moment you leave your job, you could be homeless next week.
Yep.
Unless you're living on a credit card, but even then that only lasts for so long, right?
Yep.
So...
Right, that's why Ronald Reagan is the worst, but he was one of the most effective capitalist presidents we've ever had, because
Correct.
He addressed all that stuff. How you think you finna leave your family, man, and you finna go over here somewhere else? Nope. we're going to make sure all the safety nets are cut off so that there is no way for you to, quote unquote, live off the government. You will be homeless. One minute you think you just gonna go over here and get divorced or whatever, we're gonna make sure that you do not have hardly any safety nets for you and your child.
Yep.
And that you stay in poverty so that you will be forced to stay with this man. And all these other little things that they did, it was very extremely effective to keep us, still under control, and even now to this day. Okay, so we know Cuba passed that new family law that was all in the news, that it says would legalize same-sex marriage and civil unions, allow same-sex couples to adopt children, and promote equal sharing of domestic responsibilities. It will also allow prenuptial agreements and surrogate pregnancies, though not for profit. Parents would have responsibility instead of custody of children and be required to be respectful of the dignity and physical and mental integrity of children and adolescents. Cuba is already a regional frontrunner in women's rights. Women head up nearly 50% of households and make up 60% of professionals, and have free access to abortion and can claim up to 2 years maternity leave.
Damn.
So, yes, this is also, sorry, it had some stuff in there about elder care, protections for the disabled, the elderly, and the children. And what is so funny is all that a lot of the liberals and all that a lot of the leftists got from that was gay marriage,
Literally. And that's a
gay nuclear families.
that literally shows, like, not just Western, but mostly like U.S. American culture is what that shows. Because if that's the only thing that came out of that for you, that tells me where your political ideology lies, where your political ideology even is at currently.
Yeah, you know where it is. It's just Americanized. We've been brainwashed, and we think that gay marriage is the most progressive thing in the world when it really is not at all. It's just the fact that gay people have been oppressed so bad that we're not able to be oppressed in a certain way. And okay, you get your gay marriage, which is good. Okay, get married, whatever. But this is changing the game because it's giving all these other different family types the same, quote unquote, right, the same standard, the same protections. That will never happen in America. No. America will never say, oh, okay, you got a group of friends, whatever, y'all want to adopt this child, that's a family. No, because now you're messing stuff up. Now y'all can share money on the bills. Now y'all don't all have to go and work 40 hours a piece. Now y'all can do this together, and we don't have as much of a control on it. So that tells you that obviously, I mean, Cuba isn't perfect, their economic system isn't perfect, but because they have a system that isn't capitalist like America, they're able to do that, and it doesn't harm or it doesn't trivialize anything they got going on economically.
Something that's interesting, that I say that like a million times, but something that's interesting within that is they were talking about, like you said, Cuba isn't perfect, and that's completely true, because there was, I think it said 33% of people voted no on that. So that tells you that obviously there are still conservative people who didn't feel like that was something that should be pushed, but at the same time, I feel like personally, not that it's revolutionary, but that it is a push towards validating and legitimizing, like you said, different types of families. So if your entire family is disabled, that should be considered a family. Like in America, a family is a wife, a man, and 2 kids.
Or a wife and a man, a man.
Yeah, it will, and even in the referendum itself, they didn't actually say man, woman. They said persons, and so yeah, I just think that, I don't know. I feel like even if we did something like that in America, it wouldn't like materially make a difference because of capitalism, and it would still end up being like liberalized to the point where it didn't really make a material difference for people.
Anyway, yeah, props to Cuba. That was one of the things that was still making me side eye them, that homophobia. They still got a racial problem that they needs to get in check. The dark skinned people over there, they aren't treated as fair as everybody else. So get that together, Cuba. But besides that, I think this is really good for the people, and it would just be a good. I don't think that this is gonna definitely in any way, translate to the West and us, because there's just no way for them to profit off of everybody being considered a family. But yeah, I just brought that up to juxtapose, just the different ways of life all over the world. They tell us that America is the best country in the world, and nobody has the freedoms that we have. But I was talking to KT, and I was really trying to figure out a freedom. I was really trying to figure out a freedom that we have that others do not. The most people will tell you is the freedom of speech, but we literally do not have that.
No.
And they'll say we can have a gun. Whoop de doo.
The only other thing that I told you that I could think about was being gay, but there's a very thin line that is okay, or being queer in America is very thin. You still have to abide by these same cis heteronormative ideas of what the family looks like and what you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. So you still don't really have the freedom completely to do that either.
But you see that? I mean, if you're poor, and you're trans, you're poor, and you gay. Companies can and will discriminate against you, no matter what the laws say on them books. They will discriminate against you. They will not hire you if they are bigoted. You can be discriminated against in housing in Tennessee. There are no protections for you over here. So, I mean, technically, you can say you can be gay because you're not going to be locked up in jail, more than likely, or just killed randomly by the police. But I don't know, you still might.
No, trans people are still being
exactly.
killed.
So it really no.
Yeah, that doesn't even really.
So yeah, don't believe that propaganda. America is not no better than any other country. If anything, we are worse. We just are good at we have
manipulation.
We're good at manipulation. That's our bread and butter. We're good at entertainment. We're good at making stuff seem better than what it is. And we have a lot of rich people here to make up for the fact that some places in America look worse than anything you've ever seen on a TV screen, asking for 10 cents a day.
Literally, even here in Memphis.
Even here in Memphis.
We could show y'all some pictures and stuff, and y'all would say, that's in Memphis? That's in America?
Like this one place I used to live as a kid, it literally looks like it's been bombed.
Yeah.
It literally looks like some place you'd see on TV, the quote-unquote Middle East. Like, it literally is horrible. Anyways, this is on a tangent.
We kind of went on a tangent, but, we had just a little too much Monster. We're not sponsored by them.
Actually, don't say that, because Monster, did y'all know Monster was created to fuel the troops? We gotta stop drinking that. We need to figure out something else. Who has a communist brand energy drink? We will be your number one customers. Okay, so guys, that's all we want to talk about today. Just cut that individualism out of your brain. And also, one more thing, how these therapists and all these other people are using this individualism as a way to act like that's a path towards healing. Everything is all about, this is about me, and I'm not obligated to do this. I'm not obligated to show up. I'm not obligated to do none of this stuff. And it's yes, there are certain things that you should have boundaries about, but people take that to the extreme.
Yeah.
They'll take it to the extreme and be I'm not obligated to show up for my children emotionally. That's literally what you're on this planet for. That's literally why you had that doggone child. I'm not obligated to do this for my friends. Well, damn, you shouldn't be considered a friend. There's certain things that, it's just been lost in the sauce now, and we're gonna have to get another episode to go all in that. But
I do want to say, if you guys have any suggestions about what we should talk about, Gabby and I, every single week, we're just kind of what are we going to talk about this week? So if you have any suggestions, please, please, please drop them in the comments. Ask us questions about what you would like us to talk about. and help us out. We would love to hear your feedback on the episodes and what you want to hear and what you want to see. So,
all right, guys, if you would like to donate to the work we're doing in the city, you can do so. Link is in the description. If you would like to join us in the work we're doing, link is in the description. You can hit us up at buildingourpwr. Hit KT up at KT_does_art. Hit me up at Gab Beats Music. This has been Gabby
and KT,
and this has been Building Our Power.